With Father's Day right around the corner, we remember and reflect on all the things Dad has done for us over the years, from teaching us how to ride a bike to walking us down the aisle. And when you look back, you can say he's comparable to Superman. At least that's how you see your own dad. But that pressure to be a superhero can be daunting for some. And so today we're going to talk with licensed psychotherapist Jim Yort, who's here to share some tips on being a great role model, but being healthy at the same time. As we approach Father's Day, I have the same challenge every year. I had a wonderful dad, have a wonderful dad. I have such a hard time finding the right card for him, because in the aisle at these stores, the cards all talk about them like they drink too much, they're lazy, they're slobs, you know. And I feel like we don't match up with what most people have is a loving, doting father, you know. And so historically we have this idea of what a father is, that he's secondary to mom, that mom takes care of the kids and is playing the primary parental role. But that's changed a lot in the last decade or so.
Yeah, it has. Historically, moms have been seen as really the sole influence on a child's outcome. And like you said, dad's really been a second fiddle. And what we know from modern research is that moms and dads are equally capable of serving as the primary caregiver, for one thing. And for another thing, kids have the best chance of thriving when they have a close, nurturing relationship with both parents. And you know, we even have research that shows that the more actively involved a dad is with the family, especially in leisure activities, by the way, the more cohesive and adaptable and better functioning the family is as a whole. And
I'm guessing that nowadays we have more stay-at-home dads than ever before. We have more households with two dads, and so that idea of what we have as what a father should be or can be is very different and continues to change.
Right. Yeah, in recent years we've seen dads trending towards wearing multiple hats. So not just the provider, protector, disciplinarian, but increasingly psychologist, caregiver, role model, guidance counselor, you know. And so in some ways it harkens back to the Leave It to Beaver kind of dad, except, you know, today's dads are really doing that in real life.
And it almost feels like the pendulum has swung the other direction. Almost, you know, people put so much pressure on themselves to be the perfect father, the ideal dad, and you can't be everything at all times, right? So you recommend finding a good balance with your partner, with your spouse, and balancing the employment situation, the father role, disciplinarian, nurturer, and so on.
Right. Yeah, you know, when it comes down to it, from a social and developmental standpoint, you need to provide a couple of basic things to your kids. One is a sense that you're attuned to them, and the other is a sense that you support them in their exploration of their interests and their environment and the world. So if you do those things, generally, you don't need to do them 100% of the time, just generally provide those things. The rest of your fathering will tend to fall into place, because it's really hard to be focused on being attuned and supportive and also be a bad dad.
You have some interesting ideas and recommendations for healthy communication, how fathers can position themselves, body language and eye contact, how they should interact with their children.
Yeah, you know, there should be frequent interactions with your kids away from technology so that you can provide your undivided attention to your kids and convey that through eye contact and posture. And then ask questions. And you know, try to stay away from the yes or no questions, and instead go for the open-ended questions and open-ended follow-up questions, with the goal of really exploring how your kids understand the world. You know, what motivates and excites them, what scares them, and then periodically reflect back to them your understanding of what they're telling you.
What's at risk if children are constantly using these devices, staring at monitors or screens? How much damage does that do to the relationship, not just with the father, but also with the mother?
Well, just in general, it's, you know, reducing our attention spans when we do that, and in a lot of cases increasing anxiety as well. So it's really important to get time away from the screens.
And then you also say that dad should strive to end negative self-talk and comparisons to other parents, other dads.
Right. You know, it's perfectly natural for us as social human beings to compare ourselves to other people to see where we stack up. But it's important to remember that we only get a partial image of other people, what they present for public consumption. whereas we know full well all of our own faults. And so we often end up in this apples and oranges comparison situation where, we're comparing all the faults that we have to this idealized image of other people and coming away from that with negative opinions of ourselves.
Especially in our world today with social media, where we all brand ourselves with these ideal images of what we are like or what our families are like.
Right.
You have some helpful hints as well on your website, which is rightlifeproject.com, and there's a self-care package you want to tell people about.
Yeah, I put together a package that covers some of the ideas that we were just talking about, and then a lot more, and then some ideas, tips for parenting and tips for taking better care of yourself, and also ways to incorporate mindfulness meditation practices into your daily life, which is a really great way of reducing stress and anxiety, improving your mood, and also becoming a better dad, because that can help improve empathy and compassion.
Jim Yort, great advice. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And we want, again, to remind you, you can visit rightlifeproject.com for more advice and tips on Father's Day. We'll have more Let's Talk Live right after the break.